welcome to the $5 Million Project. This episode is one of those spin-off episodes. I'm not talking about the where we're at with the project itself. I'm talking about something that's been really, really important to the way that I've managed this project and has made my life a lot easier and will hopefully make other people's life a lot easier if you're looking to develop a business, particularly around software or anything that requires a bit of managing people. And that is how to run meetings and keep things tracking on time. Now, a little bit ironic when I've explained how hard the last few months have been in terms of sort of losing control and that side of things. However, it would have been far worse if I didn't have this in place. And that's really when I have meetings, making sure that the meetings happen to some sort of order and that there's clear actions off the back of that that can be flagged and chased with people to make sure they're actually holding up their side of what they've committed to doing. So we're talking specifically here, having a meeting, how you set up the agenda for the meeting, how you run the meeting, how you take the notes of the meeting, and how you follow up. It seems very, very obvious, but for me, having managed a lot of people in my career, it's not something that necessarily comes naturally to people. And I've had some really funny instances recently where I ran a meeting and someone thought it would be a good idea to literally transcribe the whole meeting, every word that was said by everybody. Now, that kind of sounds helpful, but it doesn't give you any immediate actions, anything to reference back, and you've got to go through the whole thing and listen to it or read the transcription and actually figure out what's happened. And to be honest, it's not remotely helpful at all. So by all means, if you're having a meeting on Zoom or MS Teams or something like that, stick the record function on. That way, if you get really stuck at a later date, you can go back and you can replay the meeting itself. However, I can't even name a handful of occasions where I've played the recording, gone back through it, looking for something. My notes are far more comprehensive and I know exactly where to look. So it's not just junior people that make this mistake with meetings, it's everyone from junior through to the most senior. People just get ingrained habits and they don't realize they're not working as well as they could do for them. So if you are the organizer of a meeting, or even if you're not the organizer of a meeting but no one else is doing it, it's really, really important to have an agenda sent through in advance of the meeting. You want that to go through at least a day before, or if not a couple of days before, sent to all the parties so they can see what's going to be discussed and also do their prep work. My experience with humans is that we tend to leave things to the last minute. So if someone's having the meeting on the day and they haven't got an agenda, suddenly they'll be panicking trying to get things caught up so they're ready for the meeting. At least if you sent it through a day or 2 days in advance, it gives them that time frame just to get the last little bits of what they need to do done, ready for the meeting itself. All too often you get people turning up to the meeting, have you done this? And they haven't done what they committed to the week before, but because they haven't seen the agenda, it hasn't prompted them to do it. So you end up having a meeting about why isn't this done? And you've got the same action that you had the week before for that person. And it's just a sort of never-ending cycle. So the agenda, I'll put an example on the screen here, but it should be nice and simple. These are the talking points. This is what we're going to go through. This is who said what from the previous meeting. This is who's committed to what. And then during the meeting, you basically go through the agenda as your talking points. So, okay, Jeff, we said you were going to do this. How did you get on with that? Jeff reports on that piece. You move on to the next piece. And you can then take your minutes of the meeting directly onto that agenda. Now, minutes is another really, really key role. Obviously, the person taking the minutes is really, really important because you want those minutes to be actionable and useful. What tends to happen in my experience is you give the minutes to the most junior person in the room and say, hey, can you just take some notes from this? That's really, really bad because they're probably not trained on how to take notes. So what you get is sort of a garbled mess, no logical order or semblance as to how anything works. So it's a good strategy if you want to get someone junior doing that sort of things, but you need to train them on this sort of stuff that we're talking about so they know how to take the notes. You know, they don't need to write every word down, but they do need to make notes on any core decision. So this decision was reached, note. This action was assigned to this person, note. And then they need to break it down in the minutes to actions and decisions. So it's very clear what was done and who's been assigned to do that particular item. I like to assign minutes more to someone more senior, someone who hasn't got so much talking to do during the meeting, but they're there, they're present, and that way you've got someone who actually has context as to what's going on, taking the minutes themselves. To be honest with Roy AI, the minutes has generally fallen to me, so I find myself doing the running the meeting, writing the agenda, doing the minutes, and that's because I'm the most active shareholder in the business. It kind of makes sense for me to lead that side of things. But it really works for me because when I'm looking, okay, has someone done this? I'm able to follow up and chase on that point. So from there, you then distribute the minutes around to everyone. You ask for any feedback. I sent some minutes out the other week and I got one thing wrong and someone came back to me and said, hey, that's wrong, which enabled me to correct it and obviously make sure they were as they should be. You want to save all the minutes into folders. And the agendas. So the agenda and minutes goes in one folder for each meeting that you've had. That way, if you're looking for what happened on the 17th of June, you can go into that folder and see what the outcome was. It's not because you don't trust the people in your business, it's because people forget and in their minds they misinterpret what has been said or what's happened. And it's a lot easier just to go back to the agenda and say, actually, you said this, or you were responsible for this, or this was the decision we took, rather than cycling back through it for a second or third time. Once those minutes have gone out, if people had actionable things to do by a set time frame, it empowers you as the leader of that particular team or group or project to follow up with that person. Hey Jeff, last meeting you said you were going to do this by the 16th. I haven't had an update back from you. Can you just confirm it's been done? It's very hard for that person to wiggle and say, hey, I didn't say that, or I wasn't going to do that, or they've got two options. I haven't done it, I have done it. And if they haven't done it, then when are you going to get it done by? So for me, setting an agenda, keeping minutes, following up with people afterwards are absolutely crucial to pretty much any business project out there, but particularly when it comes to software development with so many different stakeholders. All these stakeholders come from different backgrounds, having different ways of working. Being able to hold these individuals accountable to what they've said they're going to do is so much easier when you've got all this side of things documented. So if you're going to do anything today, have a think about your next meeting, have a think about setting up a folder, writing an agenda, taking comprehensive minutes, following up, and hopefully you'll see that the results you get off the back of it are far better than what you've been having to date.